Welcome to Beyond the Bloom, a K-State Research and Extension Douglas County, Kansas podcast. Each month we'll have a conversation about the role plants play in our world. Yes, we will talk about food and flower gardening, but we'll also talk about plant care, plant recommendations, and plant biology. Everything from peonies to prairies, succulents to squash.
Because when you want to beautify your space, support the local ecosystem, or grow your own fresh herbs and veggies, your local extension office is here to help. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I am the Horticulture and Natural Resources Agent for Douglas County. My areas of expertise are native plants, restoration ecology, and I do a fair bit of weed ID here at the office.
Hi, I'm Niki, and I'm the Horticulture Program Assistant for Douglas County. My areas of expertise include houseplant care, plant ID, pest identification, and treatment.
So we're the horticulture team here at Douglas County Extension, and we'll be joined from time to time by our volunteer extension master gardeners, and we'll invite them on air to discuss their multiple passions and areas of expertise. But today, what we're focusing on is we have an upcoming garden tour. And so we're going to give you details about the garden tour in a minute. But I first want to have a conversation with Niki about why garden tours are a fun thing to do and informational and educational. So, for example, when you go to see other people's gardens, you learn from other homeowners what plants do well in our area, get some great ideas for your gardens. At our garden tour, you can talk to volunteer master gardeners about garden ideas and plant recommendations. And it's a great, fun way to spend a beautiful day, we hope, a beautiful day, for our garden tour. And so I might ask Niki, who is working on her new garden, what she would get from going to see other people's gardens.
Yeah, like you said, Sharon, I'm excited to see ways that people utilize plants, shrubs, small trees as I'm getting an idea for my own garden. I'm also looking at ways to utilize both sculpture and art into our yards. I know that multiple ones on the tour will have that. And I'm also interested in seeing some usage of water features.
Great. So you are trying to design your new garden, your
Yes.
brand new space. So what would you think are sort of the biggest hurdles when people start a garden? What could we learn from this garden tour?
Well, I think a lot of times when people come into a new space, they try to do everything all at once, and I think that can be overwhelming. For me, I'm trying to get a sort of an idea about the bigger things, so usage of shrubs and small trees and bigger perennials. So I'm going to kind of get an idea of shape from other people's yards, and then you can fill in as you go. I think that's often smarter than trying to, like I said, do it all at once can be too daunting.
Yeah, and I find that I always get lots of ideas from these garden tours. We have 6 private gardens on our garden tour this year, and of course you can start at the extension office. We have an extensive garden here at the extension office, and we'll have docents in the garden to make suggestions and point things out and tell you about our gardens here at the fairgrounds. It's a great place to start the tour. Some of the things that are particularly that are particular to this year's tour and the gardens this year, you might look for one of our gardens to show you how to construct a small garden using conifers and other shrubs, so that would be very valuable for Niki here. There's a garden that has attractive vines that they use as a fence, sort of a natural vines on their fences. Use of vines to make your fences more attractive, and raised bed cut flower gardening. We also have a garden that can highlight shade gardening. Many of these areas are replacing lawn with fabulous landscapes, and I know that's something that Niki's trying to do. Adding ponds, adding sculpture. These are all the things that are particular to this garden tour this year. What have you started with in your garden?
So far, I've just done a lot of selecting and buying of the plants, and that's what I'm actually waiting to do the tour to kind of get some more ideas about how people have utilized these plants to create their gardens. I am excited about that vine on fences and other support systems that you mentioned. I have bought multiple clematis, and I have some pipe vine that I'm getting ready to plant, and I would like to use those both for highlighting them and for using them as borders between yards. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I also am into some cut flower options, so I'm going to be excited to see the choices that the homeowners have made on that.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been encouraging is native plant introduction into people's gardens, and there will be a number of examples of that. That's become a much more popular item to put in your garden. People putting native plants there, supporting the local ecosystem. It's an incredible, valuable addition to any garden. You don't have to take your irises and peonies out, but adding a native plants can really add some life to your garden. It's supporting the insects, which will support the birds. And we've just this past weekend had our native plant sale, so we're hoping people are going to incorporate those particular features into their garden. Do you have any particular native plants that you might add to your garden?
Yeah, Sharon, I'm actually excited to add a lot of native plants in. I purchased some both at our recent sale and at the Monarch Watch, and so I'm excited to be planting plants that support our native pollinators and insects like the pipevine. Let's see, I also have bought a pussy willow tree. Let's see. Sorry.
And what do you have in your garden now that you're working around? What are some traditional
when I
things?
moved in, I had to cut out a lot of grasses that I felt like were taking up too much space, and some yuccas that I was not personally a fan of. I have a lot of Siberian iris that I'm going to be relocating, but mostly I'm putting in, I love penstemon, the cobea. I have a lot of, I'm just drawing a blank here. I have some native iris that I have purchased that are going to be great. I'm really into the shade plants, trying to utilize some of those that are native around here. And just excited to get some more ideas when we go on this tour.
And that's one of the things on the tour is each tour is going to be guided by a number of master gardeners. So you can talk to them about your space. I mean, they'll help you around the garden at the garden tour and maybe point some things out, but they're there to help you. So if you say, I really like this plant. Do you think it would work in my yard? And you describe your situation, they may be able to help. And if you have questions after the tour, you can always contact the extension office. And the master gardeners or either Niki or I can help you pick out some plants for your garden landscape.
Yes, and also remember too, we're going to have, I think, 3 to 5 choices each homeowner is picking out of their favorite plants, and we'll have signs out with that information in each garden, which is nice to sort of just see which plants really inspire and bring joy to the homeowners. I think that's always a fun sort of personalization.
Yeah, one thing about the garden tours I like is to see the personalization that people put in the garden. You don't want your landscape or our landscapes here in Kansas to look like any other landscape from Massachusetts to Arizona. We don't want the same thing, which is one of the reasons we encourage native plants, is because it's something that is Kansas. It's unique to Kansas, and we like to have our landscapes unique. We don't want it to look like what any other suburban place looks like. So whether you're out in the rural areas, whether you're in town, whether you're in the suburbs here in Douglas County, make it unique. Make it something that is not only unique to Kansas, but that will grow well in Kansas. And that's something that's a great aspect of doing a garden tour, is you can see what's working. You can talk to the homeowners, you can talk to the gardeners about what might need a little more care if you really want that plant, or what would be considered low maintenance. Now, a reminder to everybody, there's no such thing as no maintenance. But we do have a lot of examples of low maintenance in these gardens, and that'll be a great thing to talk to people about.
Yeah, and along those lines, I think it's important, I have to remind myself that, we plant these plants, and even the native plants are going to be, they're going to handle our environment better than some others, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to water them, especially as we get into summer where there's probably little rain. But, these native plants are going to end up doing better, especially if you kind of, give them the proper care, do some mulching, and then they're just going to be more sustainable in our area and just thrive more as they support our local pollinators and birds. So, yeah.
And we'll talk about some of those specific things in this podcast. So we might have a podcast on some unique pollinators and what plants you can plant to attract them. We'll also have some sessions on Your regular, peonies. We'll talk about peonies. We'll talk about irises. We'll talk about the sort of favorite plants that people like to have in their garden, and just how to care for them. Because people get excited, especially this time of year. They're putting all their new plants in. They're designing their landscape, and then summer hits. And it's really hard to keep that going. And so what we can help with is how to get through that and choose the right plants for your landscape so it's not really burdensome.
Right. Well, and making sure it's better to water, weekly and deeply instead of a little bit at a time, because you're wanting those roots to be growing down. And maybe try to avoid the overhead watering that can cause issues with, powdery mildew or, other sort of plant issues. You want to be doing lower watering, either with the drip irrigation or hoses if you have the in-ground watering. But there are just smarter ways to do it, so we can hopefully avoid some of the common pitfalls that people run into as we get into summer here.
So what can people expect for this particular garden tour? So let's talk about when the garden tour is and what time and how you buy tickets and things like that.
All right, yeah, so you can be buying tickets currently at our Douglas County Research and Extension office here, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You can also order it through the Constant Contact site. You can buy tickets day of, either at our extension office. We will be out there both Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday, June 7th, we will be running from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. And then Sunday, June 8th, it will be 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can buy tickets at our extension office or any of the 6 gardens. And that will be good for both days, multiple visits if you want. And children 9 and under are free. And keep in mind, this is a rain or shine event. So sometimes we might have some sprinkles, but you can just look at the forecast, bring an umbrella. It's still nice to get out and see the gardens. Hopefully we'll have really wonderful weather for this event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have gardens in Lawrence, but we also have one that's near Baldwin this year, and it changes every year. We do this garden tour on odd years. So we've got our 2025 garden tour. We'll have one again in 2027. The gardens change every year, so there's new stuff to learn every time we do this. On even years, we have our garden show. And that's a big educational event for the community. Once again, we're all here to help with any kind of gardening information that you have. So please bring your plant samples, your pictures, your questions into the extension office anytime. Ask a Master Gardener when you see one. Sometimes, if you're wearing your Master Gardener t-shirt and you're wandering around town or in the grocery store, you get questions then. So that's quite all right. I've answered a number of my neighbors' questions.
Same.
As well.
I'm here to help anybody as well. And keep in mind, too, not only are Sharon and I here in the office, but during the summer from April until October, our Master Gardeners are staffing the Horticulture Hotline. So anybody here in Douglas County is welcome to walk in. They are in the office from 1 to 4, so you can walk in with samples or questions. We also take emails and phone calls. So our number here is 785-843-7058. And we can get you transferred over, and they can help you solve all of your horticultural issues.
Yes, right. So, for example, today we sent off a tomato plant to do the plant diagnostic lab to see if there's something going on with the tomatoes that is not particularly obvious. We can identify a bug that's on the tomato. We can help you with your herb growing if that's what you're doing this summer.
Right. I've sent off samples for problems with blue spruce trees. And probably in that case, it's just that they're not really accustomed to growing very well here, and we have to be very careful about the moisture level, but also sent off some problems with a burning bush euonymus and also issues with lilac plants this year. So we kind of cover everything. We also identify those weirdo woolly aphids that came in. They were fun, interesting. It kind of looked like little cotton balls moving around on the stem. So we can deal with that, and the honeydew that falls off, and then the sooty mold that can come after that. So yeah, we can kind of cover everything here, from nutritional issues to bug problems to helping you prune correctly. I mean, I feel like our office can really cover all of the aspects that you might have with your plant issues.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to having you come into the office, send us some pictures. Our email, if you would like to email the Douglas County Garden Hotline, is dgco gardenhotline@gmail.com. And that'll be in the show notes.
All right. Well, I'm really excited for the garden tour coming up, and I hope we see you all out there.
Yes, do drop by and say hello, and please enjoy the weekend.
Thank you for listening to K-State Research and Extension Douglas County's podcast. We hope you tune in again for not only more research-based information and resources you can trust, but also good conversation. Until next time.